Hello everyone, I am Dr. Shaini Bharadwaj. I work as an assistant professor at Bhavan's Leelavati Munshi College of Education. Today we will be discussing on the topic of theories on gender and educational interventions. This is a part of the second unit of the subject of gender, school and society. The subject code is BL 218. These are the major theories on gender and educational interventions: the socialization theory, the gender difference theory, the structural theory, and the deconstructive theory. Now, as you can see, the first and the second theories, that is the socialization theory and the gender difference theory, they are categorized under the liberal interventions. The structural theory and the deconstructive theory, they are categorized under the leftist interventions. Now, the liberal theories of feminism focus on remedying the system from within to resolve these issues. They believe that improving the focus on certain values that are already present in the society, they would empower the females and as a whole improve the society. The liberal theorists suggest that inequity is a consequence of ignorance and prejudice in the society, and hence this can be modified through enlightened educational programs and the corrective policies. Also, according to the liberal theorists, you must give credit to the achievements of people and not their ascribed status. The third and the fourth theories, that are the structural and the deconstructive theories, they fall under the leftist interventions. The leftist approach focuses on the interplay of power relations between the two sexes and the various subsets within the social constructs of gender. They focus on the structure of the society and reconstituting it. Now, the leftist approach doesn't really focus on the formal education as the most important venue for the social change, but they do agree that the schools provide some scope of the critical inquiry and social transformation. Now, this is the difference between the liberal interventions and the leftist interventions. The liberal interventions had focused that education interventions are very important in bringing about the change, but the leftist interventions, they focus on education as only one of the means of bringing about the changes. Also, the focus of leftist approach is to raise the student consciousness about their own gendered participation in the oppressive practices and relationships. Now, before starting upon all these four theories, we must recap what we mean about gender. Gender is a socially constructed set of roles and responsibilities associated with being a girl and boy, or man or a woman, and in some cultures, a third or the other gender. Now, what do we really mean by a socially constructed set? This means that we are born in a particular culture and then learn about the gendered roles. We are not born with a particular gender. We learn in the society. Also, what do we mean by the roles and responsibilities? Now, certain roles that the males are given. The males are given the roles of the provider, the protector. The females are given the role of being the nurturing and caring people. Now, although deep-rooted, the gender roles can be changed over time since social values and norms are not static. Why are they not static? Because of the scope given by the interventions that we will be studying about. But the key point is that at birth, the difference between the boys and the girls is their sex, and as they grow up, the society gives them different roles, attributes, opportunities, privileges, and rights that in the end create the social differences between the men and the women. Now, starting with the socialization theory. The socialization theory was prevalent in the 1970s and went on till the beginning of the 1980s, propagated by the early second wave feminists who rejected the thinking that since girls' performances in subjects like mathematics and sciences was low, hence they were incapable of reaching higher intellectual levels. Now, before focusing on this point, we must first understand what exactly is socialization. Socialization means that learning to behave in a way that is acceptable to the society. We learn the norms and values of our culture which are passed from generation to generation. Now, according to the socialization theorists, the boys are taught the values of aggression, competition, and winning. Whereas, on the other hand, the girls are taught the values of passivity, hesitancy, docility, and also to be dependent on others. Now, but coming to how schools play a part in the shaping of the young minds and life choices of girls, we see that subjects like maths, sciences, medical profession and banking, they have been considered as essentially masculine fields. Usually it happens that teachers project such subjects as difficult for girls and something that comes naturally to the boys. So such attitude of discrimination must be left behind. The socialization theorists believe that if girls and boys are treated alike in the classroom by the teacher, then girls would be at par with the boys. Gender discriminatory attitude must be discarded by guardians and teachers to enable space to girls to be able to explore more avenues. So instead of categorizing subjects as masculine and feminine, a gender neutral education must be devised that entertains no space for differential treatment and enables girls and boys alike to explore opportunity. This way, the society at large will benefit when it will have a larger pool of skilled workers who will be able to contribute to the society's productivity. But the difficulty with this approach lies in the implementation. How can it be implemented if teachers themselves are biased and have deep rooted prejudices, which they themselves are not aware of? Therefore, the teachers must really feel the need to treat both the sexes equally. The teachers would need to first realize how deep their own prejudices are rooted. Also, a larger system of social support is needed wherein the parents, friends, books, print media, and the attitude of the whole society needs overhauling. Not only the teacher inside the classroom, but the parents, friends, print media, and the society at large must be having the attitude of treating both the sexes equally. Such an approach requires the strong presence of appropriate female role models and resource persons. But even after almost 50 years of this theory being proposed, there is a dearth of strong female role models in our society. And even if there are, they are most often accompanied with damaging allegations. Now we come to the gender difference theory. On one hand, where the socialization theory promoted that no difference be highlighted while teaching the girls and the boys, the gender difference theory suggests that the importance of femininity must be given its due. It says that feminine traits must be recognized, appreciated, and evolved through the educational system. The girls must be treated like girls and not like boys. According to its proponents, since the homeschool continuum is not focused beyond the elementary years, that is why the tendencies like competition, consumerism, overt logic, and radical individualism start getting manifested. There is a lack of coordination between the school culture and the feminine culture. Hence, education must be gender sensitive and take into account the unique traits of femininity, which are softness and acceptance. But how do we formulate a gender sensitive education? Regarding this, there are multiple views. One approach is the parallel approach that advocates that the feminine caring approach is neither superior and nor inferior. For example, in the masculine approach of construction of knowledge, logic is given importance, whereas in the feminine approach of construction of knowledge, people's interests, commitments, and points of view are given value. Hence, both approaches have their own merit and uniqueness. In another approach, Carol Gilligan argues that the central issue is not that of learning approaches, but that of instilling self belief between girls. Often happens that despite having the best quality of education and achievements, the girls are expected to be nice and docile. Their interpersonal skills and confidence in their ideas is not strengthened. Such traits, such traits will come along only when they are able to look at the female role models who have made a mark by giving themselves in their particular fields. Another approach asserts the importance of boys' well-being in addition to that of girls' well-being that would eventually benefit the society as a whole. What is harmful to girls may also be harming the boys' mental health and approaches to their relationships. Hence, the whole education system needs to be reprogrammed. This approach promotes the blend of values to be fostered among the learners that would evolve a holistic personality of the learners, where no facet is unduly overemphasized or repressed. The third approach is the structural approach. This is a part of the leftist approach wherein the focus is on understanding the nuances of the society based on the exercise of power and power relations. The focus is on the structural exercise of power in the society between the two sexes. The legitimacy is given by the laws, hegemonic practices, standards, and institutional relations. This legitimacy is given by the laws that are made so that they go on reinforcing the inequalities. The hegemonic practices are also shaped in a manner that ensure that the power relations stay the same. Here are some examples. The first one is that heterosexual marriages are preferred over homosexual marriages in terms of insurance cover, social acceptance, adoption policies, legal support, etc. Pink collar jobs, that is the jobs where we mostly find young women, example nurses, teachers, secretaries, these are inherently low paying jobs. The laws and rules wherein women are held responsible for conception, but they don't really have the right to exercise abortion at free will. Lastly, in the medical field, initially the way men had excluded women from entering their field, similarly, now white women exercise the same reasons to deprive the black women from entering the field. So this also reminds us of the third wave feminism, also wherein the ambit of feminism had widened and within females also there was seen an unequal distribution of power and access to resources. Becoming cognizant of this hierarchy in the society is the characteristic feature of the structural theory. By understanding this, it is easier to understand how power relations operate in any social structure and thereby devise appropriate interventions in the education. Drawing its implications to the field of education, education has historically served the interests of those in power. It is common knowledge that although school education is a state sponsored affair, but after the school education, the most empowering education can be attained only by the privileged. Hence, now to reconstitute the structure of the society, education must comprise of a liberationist pedagogy that has a counter hegemonic curriculum. Education should be cognizant of the realities and enable learners to break the glass ceiling, which means that it should be empowering as well as teach the learners to break from the power relations that reinforce the hegemony between the groups of people, be it between women and men, or be it between black women and white women, or between the women of certain castes that are present in our society. For this, it is imperative that knowledge of the self and that in relation with others must be fostered, so that means and ways can be devised to break the power structure. An alternative structural approach would be developing countercultural frameworks of meaning, which would enable the students to gain a perspective of other cultures and then develop their critical thinking and break the hegemonic patterns around them. Knowledge of the other cultures would help broaden their thinking power and therein would enable them to devise ways specific to their own context. The last is the deconstructive theory. This theory acknowledges that gender is a social construct. Hence, it is open to be deconstructed and restructured to set a different social order. It says that gender is a class in itself that has been created by the society. These classes have been fighting for their privileges. Whereas sex is biological, it has been used to forcefully determine the abilities of women and men. Now, deconstructive theorists assert that gender is a politically pragmatic alternative to the biologically deterministic category of sex. This has been transformed into the gender inequalities. By referring to gender as a politically pragmatic alternative, the deconstructive theorists imply that it has been a matter of choice that one sex has been able to dictate the hierarchy because they have a stronghold on resources. The laws, meanings, traditions, and cultural practices have been molded in a manner that favor one sex blindly, even though the others have not been proven to be any less competent. Furthermore, whenever such distinction is highlighted between the sexes, it is usually to take away or deny the rights to either of the sexes. Sex difference is natural, but it has been made exclusionary. Deconstructive theorists assert that rights are denied when differences in sexes are highlighted. For example, only lately the category of transgenders has been added to the official documents. Similarly, many other identity classifications are denied state benefits due to not being able to fall in the categories of males or females. Class in itself means that members of different sexes are well aware of their stronghold over the resources based on their sex. It is this hegemony that needs to be broken through questioning and reframing of the social fabric. So, the aim of the deconstructive theorists is not just to critique, but to set up a new order by altering the meaning of words and attitudes, such as the concepts of normal and natural. This theory believes that since gender is a social construct, it is open to be deconstructed and restructured to set a different. Drawing its implications to the educational interventions, there is a need to deconstruct and defamiliarize the existing notions of gender. That is, making our learners aware of their own values and prejudices and encouraging them to be less adhering toward the so called norms and be more accepting of their innate tendencies. Like the structural interventions, the deconstructive educational interventions also rely on the alternative texts and the interpretive practices. The major focus has to be on reconstituting the understanding and approaches, especially towards sexuality, gender, race, and class. This, we see, was one of the strands of the third wave feminism, wherein both the sexes were encouraged to become aware of themselves and realize their authentic selves. If you have any doubts or questions regarding what has been discussed, please feel free to reach through email.